gamers, to another GBHL YouTube channel video. You are here with your GBHL channel host, GBHL James. Woohoo! Back
again.
Back again. Not done any content for a while. And as you can see, Jamie Giblin has had some plastic surgery. He's had a makeover.
And longer hair.
Longer hair.
Lots longer hair.
These guys know who you are. Go on, introduce yourself.
Hello. First time on the channel. Chris, I run, along with two mates, run the Copenhagen Mill of Battle Gamers YouTube channel.
Which I highly recommend you go and check out, because these guys were putting out quite a lot of really good battle report content in particular. Now that's kind of slowed down a little bit, which is one of the reasons why you're here, because you are now in the UK.
I'm now in the UK, just moved here at the time of recording last week. And we'll be over here for quite a while, so as you may have seen on our channel if you watched the video, we will not be pushing out so much content as we have been so far, but we will still try to make content. So
absolutely, and this also creates a great opportunity for any of you guys that are down in the London area who are interested in maybe meeting up with Chris and filming some content for the Copenhagen channel. Then of course you can get in touch. Maybe you can pop in the comments below, or you're on the Great British Hobbit League Facebook page, so if any of you guys aren't on that page, get on there, and maybe you can hook up. You've already spoken about maybe meeting up with some of the great guys in the East Anglia Hobbit League.
that's right.
And if any of you guys are part of gaming clubs in London in particular who play Hobbit strategy battle gaming, do let Chris know, because of course you're over here for 13 months.
Yeah.
I will say this out loud, he's a great guy. I'll hook you up. I feel like Cilla Black. You won't know that reference, don't worry. Blind date reference. Never mind. We're already a few minutes into Speak Friend in Question, and we are actually going to be limiting this to an hour because we're going to film a battle report over on Hot Gates Gaming, don't we?
We are.
So I do have a class in a few hours, so we'll try and race through this. So this will be an hour long. If we cut your questions off, do apologise. Has been a couple of weeks, so we've got lots and lots of questions to answer. So as you are the special guest, let's start things off with Saruman the White.
Saruman the White. Saruman the White, he writes, the audio on the video seems to be going way over what it should be, no idea as to why. That's a comment for you.
No, that's my fault. So because we were recording in the Northwest Gaming Centre, I don't know if you saw the last Speak Friend in Question, but we did a further away shot so we could fit the three of us on the shot, looking at each other, and because people turned up at the Northwest Gaming Centre, that meant that we were part of background noise along with them. So when you reduce background noise, it can increase the tinniness of the sound.
Yeah.
And when you increase the sound on that, if you're not careful, it can be a bit. And often what you don't get, so when you're in the editing suite itself, you can edit all of that and it can sound absolutely fine. But once that's actually rendered and exported, it can sound very different in the exported file. And I wasn't going to do it twice, so I do apologise about that. But this one should be back to normal because we're in the Mines of Moria again.
There we go. Best place to be.
Best place to be.
Anyway, on to Hobbit. Thus far, what is your favourite release new model? I see this two-part question, this one, so you want to start answering that one?
Yeah, so
we'll continue.
Favourite released new model?
Yeah.
My favourite released new model from the Forge World stuff, I really loved, I think that the Iron Hills box set, full stop, is is great value as well as being cool, but Dane and Pig is amazing.
Do you mean the big box set where you get the Iron Hill Dwarves and you get Dane, and the big box set where you can buy everything together, or just
no, the actual warriors themselves?
Just the warriors.
I think that I've been so impressed by just the sculpts of the basic warriors, each one of which feels like it's good enough to be a captain piece, and that's I'm not a huge fan of dwarves really generally, apart from Gimli, of course. But it prompted me to start an Iron Hills army, and so many of you guys out there have done exactly the same. So I think Dane on Pig's probably the best one released. However, having seen Thranduil on Elk on Scenic Base, oh my days! It's amazing. That is an amazing piece to look forward to. Probably at this point the most amazing sculpts though for me are the Iron Hills Goat Riders.
Those are good ones, yeah, definitely. I was going to say Dane on Pig, but again, technically he's not released yet, but I was going to say Thranduil as well.
Yeah.
About to come out relatively soon, I suppose.
Yeah.
Seeing as he's been featured, so I'll be sure to pick him up.
Can't wait, and let's hope that they also do a foot model as well. Yeah. I know that's not a priority for them because there's already a new Thranduil on foot in the flying cast, but it's nothing compared to what's going to be coming soon. So lots to be excited about.
Yeah. Second part, what do you think of the placement of Hobbit on Forge World rather on the main site?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It makes no difference to me, to be honest.
No, I mean, if you think about how I think it's fine. It's just a different website you have to go to. You have to jump on Forge World instead of GW. It's not a big difference, really.
No, and I can see the point he's making here because he mentions about the Lake Town terrain and like still being GW, and that's because it's plastic scenery. So. It's a bit of a strange kind of crossover time. I mean, it seems like sales are going really well. So let's hope that people keep supporting the Hobbit hobby, and it becomes profitable and sensible for them to sort of go into the plastic box making processing.
That would be amazing.
The Mirkwood Rangers, the Warriors of Dale, the Grimhammers and the Rivendell Knights are some of the best plastic sets that they've ever put out for any system ever, for any gaming company. So it'd be wonderful if we get back to that. But in the meantime, I'm quite happy to pay a little bit more and do the Forge World resin because it's amazing.
It's amazing, and you can definitely see the difference in quality on the resin that Forge World produces and GW. No offense to GW, but there is a difference, and you also pay more for it.
Absolutely.
So it all comes together, really.
Absolutely, and then you get an opportunity to also do his sign-off.
Is that how he always signs it off?
He always signs it off there, but you have to say it as it's written.
Listen, boy! Is that close?
It's not how I do it, but it's fine.
That's how I do it.
Me and Jamie tend to do more of a lizard boy, but I prefer your version, to be honest.
Well, boy, that's how they say it in Hot Fuzz. Remember that movie, Simon Pegg?
Boy.
Simon Pegg, Nick Frost.
I certainly do.
Yeah, that's how they say it. So.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to go with that one for going forwards. Next up we've got McGarnacle 2016. But hi guys, thanks for answering my question last week. I'm planning on starting a Thranduil's horse force. Good time to do it. Finally good guys after 5 evil armies. I'm a bit put off by their expensiveness and apparent difficulty to paint, however. Any advice on collecting, painting, gaming with the new armoured Mirkwood Elves? Do you have any of those, Christian?
I do. Quite a bit, too many, and not all of them are painted up. But I did bring some of them to Articon last year.
You did?
A couple, yeah.
As which we are representing here today, and you're wearing your own hoodie, of course.
Hoodie, yeah. No shameless promotion here. No, I mean, I can definitely see your point about the expensiveness and difficulty paint, because there are a lot of details on them. They're gorgeous sculpts. This is going to pretty much sound like a broken record, I suppose, but always go with the models that you like the most, the ones that you enjoy and you would enjoy playing with. So go with whatever you would love painting and playing with first. And then, I mean, yes, they will be expensive, but then you pay a certain amount of money for it, and then you're gonna have something to have fun with forever. Really, you can't really put it all up in diamonds.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, if you're getting your time back with it, even when you're painting those miniatures, if you spend a bit of time, that's the way I always look at it. Even if I buy something which I think I'm never really going to use in the game, a lot of the time it's looking and saying, well, hang on a minute, I'm paying £20 for how many hours of pleasure am I going to get from that £20 or that £40? Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about let's say Danon Pick. Danon Pick was 40. 45?
Is it 45?
45, 40? I can't remember, but it was around there. And I look at that and you think, wow, you start comparing it to model foot and mounted previously, and I think a lot of people have that way of thinking, that's fine, that's absolutely fine. Price is always going to be a controversial but completely subjective thing. But I look at that and I think, how many hours am I going to get from painting that? And if I was to go out and spend that number of hours out doing an activity, whatever it was, whether it was going to the cinema and buying popcorn and all that kind of stuff that goes with that, well, that if there's a couple of you, as a couple can come not a million miles away from buying sort of box of miniatures. I think how many hours am I getting from painting that miniature? So that's the way that I look at it. Even though the Mirkwood Elves, I mean, the fine cast clamp packs have never really appealed to me. I understand that they can be quite difficult to clean up and put together.
Yeah.
So as such they haven't, although I think aesthetically they're some of the best looking troops in the game, purely from sort of the wetter conceptual point of view. I honestly think the Mirkwood Armadales are really, really cool.
Same goes with the Cavalry as well. The Cavalry models are gorgeous.
The Cavalry models are gorgeous. again, from other people's experiences, a little bit more complicated to clean up and put together. Not particularly fun by all accounts. But you're putting, this is a labour of love, and you're putting time into that, and I think that it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah.
In terms of playing with them, elves are always going to be pretty good with a fight value and decent shooting and the like. And you've got some great heroes that can lead these forces. Get some Palace Guard in there as well, and if you've got a Thranduil, that 5/6
is amazing.
Yeah,
and especially on foot, additional attacks.
Absolutely. Although I am looking forward to just purely for the model, taking him on stag, doing the charging, do the heroic combat, go off, charge into something else, then dismount him next turn.
It's going to be. Well, I tried to do something like that in Narcon. I brought a mountain as well, and that was actually the exact mistake I did throughout one of the games. I forgot to dismount, and I was still fortunate enough to win because dice roll went my way. But no, it was. You have to dismount him though.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of those additional attacks.
But good luck with that, and I think probably a really good person to speak to about that is probably our very own GBHL Damien, who is sort of cracking on with the Battle of Five Armies themed collecting at the moment with his Gunabads and with his Lake Town and with his Mirkwood, and I think he did particularly well with his armoured Mirkwood at the recent Warhammer World GT. So maybe get yourself over onto the Plantier, and maybe they'll pick that as a discussion point.
Yeah, definitely. Forward. If anything, you can also go on to watch his Hobbit vlogs, because he's done some amazing work with basically depicting every single step on how he painted up those models, from everything, how to put together the paints and everything. So be sure to check that out. Yeah, go and check out Damien. Okay, next up, Bradley Cobden.
Woo.
Hey guys, haven't watched a lot of videos lately. What?
What's going on, Bradley? Bradley nearly made me cry at Ardacon though. You remember Bradley?
Yeah.
Bradley stuck around and helped me out until
nice.
5 in the morning. And I wasn't even paying the guy. What a legend! Absolute star. Can't wait to catch up with you, Bradley, again.
And just haven't been feeling too inspired, but nice to see you're all well. First question in forever: is Dale OP?
Okay, so is Dale overpowered? Do you want a serious answer? See, Dale is totally overpowered. Totally. Such a variety of strong troops with massively high defense and totally broken heroes. And are always seen plundering the top tables of every single tournament.
Every single one.
On the not just in the Great British Hobbit League scene, but in all tournament scenes across the world. Now, of course, Dale aren't OP. But they are gorgeous plastic miniature troops. I've got some, and I cannot wait to paint them. And Dale doesn't interest me at all. It's purely on the strength of those plastic kits. So well done to the guys at GW.
He continues, I really feel it isn't, especially after the Windlance was nerfed so much in the new book. That's a good point. Second question. What's your opinion on the Dale Captain model? I'm not the biggest fan, as it's too skinny compared to all the other Dale miniatures, and I'd love to see another version of it, especially with a bow option. Cheers guys, and looking forward to seeing everyone once again at Ardacon this year.
Bring it on. Hopefully lots of you are going to see you at Ardacon this year. We got to 144 players last year and nearly 200 people attending the event, and for this to work this year I need over 150 of you. So once again it will be the largest gathering of strategy battle gamers from around the world, so hopefully we'll see not just Bradley there, but everybody else as well. So the Dale Captain miniature, I know the one. It's the
one holding the sword, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I agree with you.
I'm not. I mean, I think it's a decent skull. It's a decent model, but it's not a favourite of mine in any way. It's just, it's all right.
I understand what he means. Again, it's one of those sort of fine cast, clamp packy kind of miniatures. I'm not a huge fan of like the pose and the like, and what I would be more inclined to do would be to convert one of the gorgeous plastic miniatures to be on like a really nice base and just give them something a little bit extra and a slightly different paint job, maybe do a little bit of green scruffing just to make some so the conversion works, and making a captain out of those just because I love the poses and I love the miniatures. So I understand what you mean, and yeah, let's hope that we get a miniature for every single profile and every single bit of war gear going forward. I mean, that's what we've been promised, so let's wait and see. Thank you very much for your contribution, Bradley. Hope that you comment next week. Next up, we have James's Miniature Space. And it's me. Hi guys, question this week. With There and Back Again release, the expectation is for the next book to be a rules update. Do you want this book to also lump in all the sourcebook profiles, including the ones that need updating? My personal feeling is not. I'd love to see a new timetable of sourcebooks trickle out, starting with The Last Alliance, which seems to be the obvious faction to fluff and fill out. What do you reckon? What do you think needs prioritising? So we're looking at a next book release. What do we think we'll see, and what do you hope to see?
What we've been talking about a lot over at the Copenhagen guys is that there definitely feels to be some sort of unbalance between Lord of the Rings miniatures and Hobbit miniatures. So as long as that really is balanced out, as it were. So
just out of interest, do you see that the Hobbit miniatures and profiles are better than Lord of the Rings miniatures? That's very interesting.
So whether or not it's released as one, all is put into one book, or whether they do a series of books like what they have done so far with the Lord of the Rings, that's not really important to me, really. I definitely see the argument of having several books, because if you're going to the tournament, you're only bringing one army. You don't necessarily want to bring, all the profiles for all the other 12, 15 factions, however many we have. You just want to be able to bring the ones, the one faction you have. But in all together, it doesn't really matter to me.
No, as long as there's new stuff. Okay, I see what you mean. I'm going to very quickly, and it's definitely worth probably not discussing massively on this show, but very interesting that there's that perception that Hobbit profiles are sort of almost more superior to Lord of the Rings profiles. Now, I don't necessarily 100% agree with that point. I completely understand where it comes from. I definitely think that Lord of the Rings profiles seem out of date compared to profiles, especially in terms of how some of the new rules are written for miniatures, and there's a lot more creativity now in how to purvey a certain kind of fluff or theme or combination of things through Hobbit miniatures. But at the same time, we still see Lord of the Rings armies predominantly on those top tables and winning tournaments. But it's very interesting. I think a lot of that comes from seeing like Azog and seeing Bolg and the like, and just seeing how good they are. But you do pay for them. They are expensive.
It's true. I mean, at all top tables, you always see Fiefdoms, and they're not exactly necessarily Hobbit. They will also, they did transpire from Lord of the Rings. But generally,
you tend to see old wood elves over new elves. You tend to see Felbeast, like you say, and sort of the Corsair and the Haradrim lists being quite strong and powerful. Morannons and Gundabad Black Shields and all those tend to be more prevalent than some of the newer lists. And even old dwarves in a lot of ways still sort of, maybe because of the diversity of the lists, tend to sort of stand above maybe what you see with some of the new stuff. But very, very interesting. What do you guys think? Because I think that's a really very, very interesting discussion. Maybe put a comment in below and let us know what you think about that. Let's remember what I was actually asking. What kind of book would we like to see? So you're not particularly bothered. What I think that we might see is a rule book, and then maybe a book that covers evil, and maybe a book that covers good.
So 3 books.
I think so, maybe.
But you think there's going to be a new rule book as well?
I think a new rule book.
What do you think?
What do you guys think? I think that the next lot will be a new rule book. I think, but I don't know. Certainly don't watch this and think that I'm in the know in any kind of way, because I'm really not. And those of you that know me know that I'm really not. So that's what I would probably think. But it also makes sense to me that there would be sort of forms like you said, more like journey books, and like you mentioned about you'd have a book that was The Last Alliance, and it covered all the different armies from that and the army special rules from that, and then you had another which covered different not just areas of Middle Earth and factions of Middle Earth, but also stories in Middle Earth.
Kind of like what they used to do, like when they have Siege of Gondor and they had Road of Arnor and all those sorts of things.
I would like to see stuff like that, I have to say, but I probably think it might be sort of maybe 3 books, like a rules book, and then maybe a big, because I wouldn't mind that. I don't mind taking a book that's got all the profiles, because then at least you've got an idea of what your opponent's are doing as well. And just as much in this game, it's not just about knowing what your stuff can do, but what your opponent can do as well. But thank you very much for your question, James's Miniature Space. Next up, we've got Dominic Harris.
And he writes, "Hi guys, thanks for answering my question last time. I'm now in the loop."
Woohoo! What does he have to do?
He has to remember to write a comment throughout every single Speak Friendly question forever and ever.
Forever and ever. That's it. You're trapped. Welcome.
Congratulations to Jamie for beating Damien's Asok Legion in the 600-point battle.
Whoa! Massive spoilers!
Spoiler alert!
I'm sure you will watch that now, but if you haven't, go and check out that cracking battle report that the gents did here on the GBHL podcast.
It was a ridiculously fun game. Go Team Mirkwood. My question this week is regarding the new Iron Hills Goat Cavalry. Awesome models and fantastic rules. Agreed. Can you see people taking more than 5 or 6 in an army? Normally 4 world prices don't bother me.
Do you know what? I have been massively impressed by the I've already seen pictures, and I'm super jealous, by the way. I've already seen pictures of people on the British Hobbit League Facebook page who've got armies of Goat Riders.
That's amazing.
That's what I wanted to do. But they've got like 24 Goat Riders. I mean, you guys are doing well. You guys are doing really, really well, because they are not they're not cheap, are they? No. They're not. It's not £20 for 3. It's double and more than for 3. Gorgeous sculpts. But I'm massively impressed to see so many of you having armies of them. So do we think that we'll see 5 or 6 in an army, or do we think we'll see
taking more even?
Yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah, we will. I think so. Well, obviously it depends on the point limit for the game.
Yeah.
Because so it's difficult to actually generalize and say yes or no to this question. But as you just heard, I say yes because tournaments tend to be at a bigger point level, and I think you can see 5 or 6 or potentially more in Air Force.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that question, if you kind of break it apart, really comes down to, do we think that we'll see sort of pure... Because you're either going to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
And you're going to see sort of pure Goat Rider based armies, which I think now, based on the face, but I think people are going to want to do that because it looks cool. It looks really cool. I mean, I don't know anybody out there who's really into sort of all-mounted cavalry armies.
No.
Whoever's into that stuff's crazy.
Losers, really. Absolute
Nonsense. But are we going to see that type of force, or are we going to see more of them being allied in? You've got like you've really got the sort of hammer and anvil kind of effect, where you've got a very strong battle line with spears and shield wall and everything going in, and then you've got Goat Riders and heroes that are just tearing up the real hammer and anvil kind of tactics. I honestly think we'll see a mixture between the two.
Yeah, and it's going to be either or. Either you bring a lot of the Goat Riders, or you don't bring so many, and you're trying to sort of balance it out with the rest of the Iron Hill models, as it were.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So he's put here,
normally 4 world prices don't bother me, considering the quality of the models.
Agreed.
But just under £200 for a full warband of 12 seems a bit excessive.
Yeah, I mean, they are priced to bring a handful.
Yeah.
They're certainly not priced to bring an army of, and I wanted to do 2 warbands of them. That's £400. Jane is out, so I can say that out loud right now. But that's £400, and there's a reason why I've not bought them straight away. Because that's a gulp figure. I'm pleased that they're here and they're awesome, and I will get them. But you do have to sit back and take stock. In that instance, I think.
Yeah.
Amazing models though.
A full warband of Rivendell Knights sets you back a reasonable £60, and the normal Iron Hills Dwarves are fairly priced, in my opinion, at £40 for 12. Do you think Fortwell is in danger of alienating newer players to the hobby?
Interesting. These are great questions, guys. This is a fantastic episode. Love it. Great questions.
If people are just, looking to getting into the hobby, for starters, it might alienate new players. However, don't forget that there's a great starter box set with Goblin Town, and you get Goblin Town as a massively good force, and the models are great as well, and you learn everything you want. If people are looking into starting the game solely to collect Iron Hill Dwarves, then it might push them back a bit, and they may hesitate.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that I understand exactly what they're doing, because if you want to start an Iron Hills army, then there is a very, very great value way of doing it, because I agree with you. I think the £40 for 12, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that what we'll see probably is that with new armies, your core troops. And I know that the core troops isn't a mechanic in strategy battle game, but your Iron Hills dwarves, your basic foot troops, your warband, your fillers are going to be great value like that, because then you can start collecting an army of them. But then those sort of more elaborate sculpts and those more sort of kind of sophisticated profiles and more elite units and heroes and the like, I think that you are going to pay for them. And do remember though, strategy battle gaming is a relatively low cost game, because you can start playing good competitive games at less than 500 points, and to be fair, you can still pick up things quite cheaply on eBay. And if you do want to get into the game, there's lots of other options. Like you said, there's the Escape from Goblin Town, and there's also plastic box sets. And if you can't afford, not having to go at anybody that can't afford, because it can be frustrating.
No.
But if you can't afford to get those really expensive models, then you just don't do it for now, and you save up for them. And in the meantime, you've got plenty of other options so that you can still play the game. So I don't think it will necessarily put people off, unless their heart is absolutely set on only collecting the game because they want Goat Riders, and then at the same time aren't prepared to pay the money for it. But I do understand the kind of the cost dilemma, shall we say. So yeah, thank you very much. Very good question from Dominic Harris. So next up we've got Peter Holden. So, hi guys, thanks for the answer to my question last time. No idea what that was, it was years ago. The question for this week is, if you could have a game where the SBG mechanics were applied to a different mythos, what would it be? Personally, I've always thought it'd be really fun to have a Narnian army. Okay, so Narnia is a cool universe. SBG, the mechanic of the game, if you could apply that to another universe or period of time, as somebody who plays 10 other systems.
Around there.
Yeah, what would you like to see SBG in?
I think a game like Game of Thrones could work really well. There's already a miniatures game. I'm not sure if there's actually a game behind it, but there are loads of models and they are absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I bought one for Jamie Giblin for Christmas a few years ago, I think it was, Jon Snow. That was nice of you. It was nice of me. It was. He got me some cool stuff as well. I think it would be great to sort of see a Game of Thrones game similar to SBG. And I think people, I think that's not an uncommon view. And I think there's a couple of reasons for it. I think that obviously Game of Thrones is the current sort of fantasy, in fantasy as it were, that people kind of think of first of all. But Game of Thrones is also about the characters. And just like an SBG really is a game of heroes and characters on the whole. And that will be emphasised even more, hopefully, going forwards, so that you can bring your Aragorns and Boromirs and the like, and are encouraged to. So I can see that. I personally would love SBG with its kind of mechanics and the kind of size of the forces that you take. I would love one that's kind of that whole saga, the Viking era. Anglo-Saxon Britain, the Danish invasions, that whole kind of Dark Ages period of time, because I'm interested in that period of time full stop. I'd love to see cool miniatures for it, and I think that the mechanics would work quite well. We have great heroes and kind of chieftains that are leading warband sizes of men, because that's what would happen. You'd have thanes who'd bring, their feared and coming along. I think that would work really well. I think it's important that what's really great about SBGs is so simple to pick up. And it's difficult to master, really. Yeah. And what's really, I think that mechanic can basically be applied to any sort of pop culture phenomenon. There's a new Harry Potter miniatures game coming up relatively soon. Oh, really? Yeah, from Night Models. Oh, what? Oh, Night Models. Night Models. They make lovely, lovely miniatures. They do. You just picked up some Marvel stuff. I do. Element Games. Yeah. But Night Models are coming out with Harry Potter, and I think some of the mechanics from SBG could also be applied to the Harry Potter miniatures game. That could be very interesting, but again, it's the core mechanics. You can't basically just copy paste it. That wouldn't work, obviously. No. I understand. I would look at SBG though, and I would say that because the heroes are doing quite a lot. I mean, you would change the name thing, so might become sort of a leadership thing. Because,
those are almost like leadership points which enabled you to do sort of heroic heroic things in the game. But yeah, I mean, I think the SBG mechanics are really cool and would work for lots of different universes. I mean, you're getting into a Greek mythology game, or a game based on Greek mythology that's on Kickstarter at the moment. And again, because that's about heroes and monsters, and then sort of small bands of warriors and the like, those type of SBG mechanics would work quite well for that. So yeah, I think that's a really good question. So next up, we've got Matt M, our friend over in the USA. Hi Matt.
Hi Matt, you're right. Hello everybody. What are the best monsters in the game for their points? What are the worst? Fell Beast.
Yes. A Fell Beast. A Fell Beast is the best monster in the game for its points. As a 50-point upgrade, its own set of rules and monstrous cavalry, and the fact that it can have on its mount a wizard with a ton of casting ability, and a lot of those wraith wizards are obviously able to negate their weaknesses.
Yeah.
A Fell Beast is just incredible value for what it does for the game. 25 more points for a basic Fell Beast, and I think that would be about right. 25 points, and that would balance things out a bit.
Now, which one's the worst though?
The worst monster?
The worst monster for its points.
Okay, so excluding a lot of the new stuff from there and back again, because although I've reviewed that book, not a lot of that stuff has sunk in. The worst monsters for their points. That's tough.
That's tough.
That is tough. I guess you could say something. Mind you, cave trolls aren't that expensive, but I think because they're defense 6 and they can be immobilized out of the game quite easy, and because they've got low courage, they'll run away. And maybe something like a cave troll. But cave trolls look cool on the table.
And it's cinematic, because it's in the movie. I mean, you love it as soon as you see it. I was perhaps thinking of Mordor troll.
Mordor troll, yeah, because they're quite expensive. Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. I guess a lot of people would be tempted to say things like eagles, for example, because of the only 2 attacks, and they could be shut out of the game quite easily for now. Although that's probably with some of the changes to the army special rules, and maybe some of the changes that we'll see going forward, they'll be much more viable. Probably. Hope so. So yeah, tough question. I think the best monsters a much easier question.
Yeah.
Maybe Smell. 700 points is a lot, but he's awesome. He's awesome.
He's an army on his own.
He certainly is. So next up we have Ollie Carter.
Yeah.
He's put, hey guys, regarding Elven colour schemes, all my elf armies have the same colours. Silver armour, purple capes and robes, and blue cloth. To me, they all look really cool and unique with the purple, since I've never seen a true purple army besides GBHL Devon's Dwarves, I imagine, which I love. Also, speaking of elves, I currently own 24 high elves with blade and 24 high elves with bow from the last alliance, but none of those beautiful spear and shield models. Is there anywhere I can trade some of these models for the spear and shield ones? P.S. I don't have any social media like Facebook, but any websites would be helpful. Cheers and keep up the great work.
That's tough then.
That's tough.
The one place to go for trading is the trade page on Facebook. Where you can also buy and sell stuff, obviously. But for trading, probably the answer would be Facebook.
Absolutely.
If you want to buy, you can always try to find stuff on eBay. But if you're looking to trade, that's, as far as I know, it's really Facebook is the only place to go. Yeah,
trading. And to be fair, if it's the metal ones that you go for, you're going to be trading a lot of your plastic ones for the metal ones. And because the plastic ones are really easy to get hold of, I doubt people would be keen on doing that as a trade. But you do tend to see them up for sale every now and again. You can actually still get the high elves with spear and shield through Games Workshop, but it is the fine cast version. So you can still get those. But again, whether people would trade for what are common, some of the first plastics that were ever produced for Lord of the Rings, I think you're going to struggle from a trading point of view. You can head over to the One Ring forum. There is a trade page on there. How active that is these days, I'm not too sure. It was always a great forum, but I know from my own personal experience, I tend to spend a lot more time on a Facebook now than I do on that wonderful, wonderful forum. But if you're not on Facebook or social media, go and check that out. Yeah. Good luck. And sounds like your colour schemes.
Purple's lovely. I like purple. My entire Corsair army is purple.
Yeah, there you go.
Next question is from King Bonsai. The next models I'm most excited for are the Iron Hill Crossbows. They look amazing in the Chronicles book and look to be great in Game 2. Durin's son.
See, that must be where they got the crossbows from. Because I remember I watched the extended version of Battle of the Five Armies not that long ago in the big scheme of things. So I've been holding out for the box set, and I got it for Christmas. I got it for Christmas. I watched it not that long ago. And there were no Iron Hills crossbows. And I was thinking, what? There's no Iron Hills crossbows. They're going to be awesome in the game. What's going on here? But maybe there was some design work done when out was the Chronicles book. Maybe that's where they've gotten from.
Probably. Most likely. But yeah, no, I agree. They do look amazing. I did see a picture online somewhere of them with the crossbows, and I agree. They look really cool. So
what's going to be really interesting with all these sort of Iron Hills options and the like is whether we're going to see situations like we have done with the 3 models that you can use for Goat Rider dismounts, but can also be alternate poses for Iron Hills Warriors. Whether we're going to see those types of packs, which I think we are for each.
That would make sense.
It makes sense. It's something that they're doing already. But whether down the line we'll actually see like a conversion kit or weapons packs and the like, which I think at the Warhammer World GT Q&A with Mr. Troke and Mr. Clare, I'm sure that they mentioned that was something that was happening. So are people going to be waiting for that and convert the boxes of 12 Iron Hills Warriors using that, or will you actually buy them in 3s at 18? Was it £18 for 3? I think £18 for 3.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting which way people go with that. Thank you very much for that, King Bonsai, for your contribution as always. Next up we've got Stephen Bonar. Hello. He's put, cheers gents, glad you like my lists. Looking forward to catching up at the GT and Stockport. Yeah, it was good to see you at the GT, buddy. Stephen brings what I would consider to be like old-fashioned, almost kind of maybe was it Legion's era kind of style armies where you've just got lots of chaff. The kind of armies that we saw a lot of at the first Nova that we went to.
Right.
So he tends to bring like just thousands of Morannons and captains and things, and he's good with them. And it's a horrible army. Those types of armies are really tough to play against. And it's interesting how that's not a big thing in our meta. Will it become a big thing in our meta going forwards though? Because a lot of people bring quite elite things and wizards to shut down big stuff, and yet there's nothing to shut down in that kind of army. You've just got to plough through chaff.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's what he's famous for.
Cool.
He's going for a non-list specific question this week. 1. Which is better for single list events, good or evil forces, and why? What's better, good or evil, for single list events?
Well, I think it's not that black and white really, because it really depends on the army list, as it were. Because I don't think you can say like good or evil is better.
You don't?
I don't think
generally,
so.
No,
generally. I mean, it depends on the player and what they are good at playing with.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that point. Playing devil's advocate ever so slightly, if you were to put, let's say you got a couple of people who are the same level of ability, and you were to get 10 people who are same level of ability. You got 5 people with evil armies, versus 5 people with kind of good armies. Generally, in tournaments and like, do we see evil armies performing better, or do we see good armies performing better? Generally,
evil.
Yeah, I think so.
But personally,
what do you think the reason for that is? I don't say ring raves on raves on Belby.
I didn't. You did.
That's not the reason.
No.
It's one tool that they have that
I don't want to say they have more options, but they have, a lot of the army lists have many options.
I agree with that.
So you can play a lot of the army lists in any way you want, really.
Yeah.
They might be, built for one particular way of playing. For example, if you take Goblin Town, they're built for spamming.
The versatile, evil army, that's the right word.
Exactly. So I think that's why you see evil the most.
Evil armies are very versatile.
Yeah.
They've got all the tools, so you can pick the tools which fit your play style, that fit the rules pack. Much easier than necessarily with a good army, where sometimes whether that good army will do well it's quite situational depending on what the rules pack is, what the local meta is that you're playing against, what order that you're playing certain scenarios, whether they're random or not, all the time limits. There are tons of different factors, I think, that kind of have to be more in place for a good army than necessarily evil armies, where they seem to be a lot more diverse and seem to have more tools generally. It's not 100% kind of infallible point. What do you think? What do you look for in a good force? What do you look for in an evil force?
Being a primarily good force player, I always go by fluff, regardless of whether it's good or evil. I always try to play fluffy. Good force. My favourite is Rohan.
Man of Rohan. We're friends for a reason. We don't like each other, but we play the same.
But we play the same army. No, because I love everything from the films about Rohan, and so I mean, fluff. I love the way the Mirkwood Elves looked in Desolation of Smaug, and when I saw the plastic pack with the 12 warriors, they looked massively cool. So I went by the looks of it. When I usually don't. When I do my army lists, I very, very seldom do them competitively. I go by what I will enjoy playing with. For the most part.
Which, to be perfectly honest, especially for you guys out there that are watching these videos and are maybe slightly worried about maybe going to a tournament or the like, because you're worried about coming up against people that are sort of optimising lists and power game and trying to win, which of course there's nothing wrong with.
No.
What you'll actually find is that the majority of people that attend events, even like Ardacon and Desolation of Stockport, One World GT or any of the others that are out there, 90% of the people that attend are attending with armies, not that they're not trying to win with what they've got, but they're there because of the community in the company. It's an opportunity to not just place their models that they've laboured on and put a lot of time in, but they love and they want to recreate scenes from the movies, and they want to see other people that are doing the same kind of thing. So you do see a lot of that. In terms of competitive list building, when you look for sort of what do you look for in a good force, what do you look for in an evil force, I guess the people that are on the whole kind of like the top players who are maybe then trying to read, okay, what's in this rules pack, what are the scenarios, what are the order scenarios. Jamie would very much say you plan your army for what the last 2 or 3 scenarios is going to be, because usually it's a random draw the first game. You're probably going to come up against maybe one of those 90% rather than one of the 10%, and therefore even if your army isn't suited for recon or Lords of Battle, then you can kind of get away with it because you're quite a particular kind of player. So I think that's one kind of thing as a general bit of advice. But me personally as well, it's what points are you playing at, and at those kind of points, what kind of armies are you more likely to come up against. So of course if you go in higher points values, you're more likely to come up against bigger heroes and magic. So you almost certainly, if you want to try and compete, you need some form of magic so that you can either counter enemy magic or shut down big enemy heroes when they don't have magic. So those tend to be other things you look for. With evil armies, of course, evil hordes, it's whether how many models is it going to take to break them? Do they have some kind of defense against that fury and the like to protect that? And can I provide multiple threats for my opponents so there's no clear target priority? So for example, we're going to see a lot of Shadow Lord going forward, I think, especially as good and evil becomes more prevalent again and we play at higher points levels, and with some of the new deployments that we saw for the scenarios at One World GT, for example, he could be target priority for a Legolas on the opposite side of the table. So do you want him to be a leader as well, even though he's a defense 8 Wraith on Felbeast? Probably not. You want to spread those types of things. How many models have you got in total? Do you have odd number, even number, so you get that slight advantage? What your bow limits are when you're good? All those types of things. It's a very, very, very big question, and we want to get through them all. So we've got King Boneseye again.
I think that's you, isn't it?
I know someone who wants to get a Fiefdoms army. Any advice for him? Fiefdoms. Army.
It's a very cool army. It's going to be difficult, but a lot of the really, really cool and good heroes are out of production. But you have some great heroes in there that can go with Fiefdoms. So try to look for those. Else, try to look for Cavalry is good, I think. No, so for the Fiefdoms, I like the Cavalry options. They're a bit difficult if you also want the Foot Knights, as they are a production, but you know they'll probably be coming back eventually. But that I haven't actually played with Fiefdoms ever, so I'm not expert on them. But I know the Cavalry is pretty good.
Fiefdoms is a very solid Kings of Men list. I think it's probably one of the most solid, kind of complete Kings of Men lists. With all that fight 4 around, you know, there's the options to have things which are defense 6, you've got pike options and the like, you've got some decent heroes, you've got some cheap heroes as well, you've got cavalry options. The missile based options aren't sort of fantastically competitive, but you know, again, decent heroes, decent troops, and we probably don't see as many Fiefdoms armies because it's precious metal, which is, you know, quite tough to get hold of. It's always really impressive when you see a Fiefdoms army on the table, I have to say. Great fun to play against. Love playing against Fiefdoms with my sort of Rohirrim, because it almost feels like it could be a historical battle,
yeah,
as opposed to a fantastical battle in that sense.
Yeah.
So my advice would be to get yourself onto Facebook, onto the trade pages, and look out for those kind of offers. I would advise maybe start off and, you know, get your hero, get an Imrahil. He should be quite easy to get hold of. But get an Imrahil, get a box of Swan Knights, start off with that, then look to maybe start building up some Axemen of Lossark and try and get hold of a Forlong to lead them. And then your next progression, maybe if you want them, maybe Clansmen and a Angbor leading them perhaps.
Yeah. Dunir is pretty good too.
Yeah, you've got Dunir as well, who, you know, he's got his fight 5, which is quite important. And he's got the 3 might and the like. So if you can get hold of those models, great. It might take a little bit of conversion work, but I mean that would be my advice when it comes to collecting. Sort of do it a warband at a time and keep an eye on those trade pages and Facebook.
Good offers.
So next up, another question. Oh, and it's an army list question.
From Stacey Ravel Curry. Hi guys, I have 2 800 point Pure Legion army lists here. Can I get your opinions? And thoughts on sacrificing the special rule to get some walks in? I haven't put them in warbands to make it easier to read. They should all equal 800 points exactly. Right. Thanks a lot. Alright. So the first list, Asok with flail armor and the white walk.
That's good.
2 Gundabak orc captains with shield. 1 Gundabak troll with scythe gauntlets. 3 warbats. 6 berserkers, 2 sword, 4 axe. 20 orc warriors, 10 shield, 10 spear. That's in total 10 might and 33 models. And breakpoint of 18.
Okay, so at 800 points, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a good and evil army? Now, from a kind of fluffy, I'm looking to play with cool stuff on the table, that's a cool army.
That's very cool. I would love to play against that.
I'd love to play against that. It'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
It'd be so much fun. From a competitive point of view, I look at that and I think, okay, 800 points. 10 might is probably about right. You probably don't want less than 10.
No.
So you're looking at sort of 10 to 12 is probably the right kind of bit. 33 models is probably a bit on the low side.
Yeah.
So Azog will have to do an awful lot in this army. And he can. He can. However, what is going to be his big hindrance at 800 points? What's he going to come up against, which is going to take him out of the game at 800 points competitively?
Magic.
So you've got no kind of magic defence really, and the way that magic is at the moment, I know that I would look at that and you would just want to get his will down and immobilise him out of the game, because once he's out of the game, the rest of the army will go down relatively quickly, and that's the only thing I would say about that. Do not let that put you off, because it's awesome.
I would personally I would prefer this list if you decided to bump up the amount of models, because that looks really cool. I would love to play against that.
It's got
everything.
It's got a mixture of lots of different things. It'll look cool on the table. You know, it's, let's say once Azog's shut out of the game, you're in a bit of trouble, because he has to do a lot in this list. He is expensive. 800 points. You know, he takes up a lot, especially when you then want to take other things such as a Gundabak troll or warbats or the like. But very, very, very cool. But you've got a comparison list List 2.
So you have Balrog Warg. You
Very
have
good.
2 Gundabad Orc captains with shield, 1 Gundabad troll with a club, 3 Warbats, 7 berserkers, 3 with axe and 4 with sword, and 25 orcs, 15 with shield and 10 spear. That's 7 might and 39 models.
So numbers wise, it's much better.
Yeah, but you're low on might.
Low on might.
So it's kind of the reverse of before.
Yeah, it kind of a flip extreme, isn't it?
So, of the 2, which one would you go with if it were you to play? If you had to
List 1.
List 1, yeah.
Because even though Bolg really, for his points, can do an awful lot, he still has to do quite a lot in that list, and with only 7 might at 800 points, again, he's going to suffer the same problems that poor Azog will, but at least with more might that you have in the top list, you can still have some element of control in the game, particularly in the later stages of the game with heroic move-offs. A key heroic move-off when the game is kind of at those precious stages where one of you's about to break or the like, can be the deal breaker. 7 might probably isn't going to be enough at 800 points, but very cool.
Very cool list.
Very cool. Play with both. Let us know how you get on.
Yeah,
absolutely. PS for Braun at Barleyman's Azog versus the new Thorin. New Azog versus new Thorin. Why not? I have to do it. Wait for the models, and then we'll definitely do that for Braun at Barleyman's, which will be back at some point, everyone. Next up, we've got Galadriel. Glad you like the list, guys. It's been coined micro warbands down under. So you're talking about basically someone was bringing just all of the named Uruk-hai heroes and captains.
Cool.
As a list, and apparently it's done very well down in Australia. I said that I probably wouldn't mind playing against that with the type of good army that I tend to take. Lots of defense 5, lots of strength 3 bows are great against that. Wizards are going to be fantastic against that with Sorcerer's Blast and Light Saruman, but it would still be a nasty list to play.
Yeah.
Recommend you try running a list in that style at some point. It's really refreshing to play the game in a different way. Yeah.
Definitely.
It works well with the Dwarves or Elite Mordor as well. The shock value when your opponent has never played against something like it can win you games by itself. It's also utterly horrible for Felbies to deal with. There's far too many heroes. Yeah, maybe someone should give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. This week's loop obligation, I'm up to 4 in a row. Good work, you're doing better than we are. What would you change about the Balrog? Common question. What would you change about the Balrog to make him semi-viable? Move 8, fly, Smaug's unstoppable momentum rule, some spells, cheers from the land down under. And he's also put some suggestions for Born at Barleyman's, Merry and Pippin versus Grishnak. That's a good one. Yeah. Witch King versus Gandalf. I can do that one. Suladan versus Theoden. You should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Should be able to do that soon. So yeah, what would you do to change the Balrog?
I think he needs fly. Personally.
Do you see him fly in the movie?
No, but he has wings and he can fly. It's in the law. All Balrogs can fly if you read through the law.
I love playing devil's advocate because this is something I've had this discussion with with Adam at tournaments and the like, and he always has a mischievous look in his eye when you talk about how you would change sort of other profiles, and we'll play devil's advocate, I guess, to try and see sort of a better answer from yourself.
I think fly would help. If he gets fly, then move 8. Well, that's implied, isn't it? So Smaug's unstoppable momentum rule. Perhaps. I don't think he needs it if he can fly, because you also want to keep it balanced.
Yeah.
Some spells. I don't remember Balrogs being able to do any sort of magic.
Yes, they can. So they are. So Balrogs are the equivalent. Well, they're Maya, aren't they? So they are the equivalent like Gandalf Saruman, and they are actually supposed to be real magical.
They're magical beings, but do they actually do magic? Do they cast spells and stuff?
Well, magic in actual, as opposed to movie.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
In actual Lord of the Rings lore is very different than what It's not Harry Potter-esque.
No, it's like
so they are meant to be magical beings,
Yep.
just like the Maya are supposed to be magical beings, but that doesn't necessarily manifest itself in kind of, Expelliarmus or any of that
exactly.
stuff.
So I don't think necessarily they should have magic, as it were, in the rules, but they should more have either buffs or debuffs as a special rule, more so than actual spells that you cast. I think that could be fun, but obviously if you start changing it, you also need to look at the points cost for it.
Yeah.
So
I can actually see, again, I'm not in the know, but I can actually see, and it would be a genius move from the guys in the Middle Earth team. You heard it here first. You heard it first. Okay, I'm taking full credit for that. If it's not been said out loud anywhere else in the world yet, then I'm taking credit. It would be a genius move to do a more like a scale Balrog through Forge World, new sculpt, just like they have done with like Smell, so the Smell kind of thing. An expensive model that is, between £100 and £200 worth of resin, so we are talking like the Smell build, but a big piece that came with new rules for it that did just kind of look, because the Balrog is a very outdated profile, and he suffers very much from the lack of might. That's the big one. That's the big one. In the end, you will kind of chop him down. Whether they would go down the route of making him, if you made a big one like that, whether you made him more points and just gave him a bunch of more stuff, or whether you'd actually just keep him, just do a couple of little tweaks and actually bring him down in points, because it's pretty certain that he's not worth 400 points in the context of the game as a whole. But I think that would be a great idea, because by all accounts, Smaug has done fantastic for the guys at Forge World.
Yeah.
And for the the Middle Earth team and the like, and going down the same route where you create a piece which is a collector's piece which costs a lot, it's got a huge profit margin, and you brought out some game rules with that, I think that'd be awesome. I think everybody would like to see a Balrog like that.
If it was actually it's a big model. I mean, Smaug is technically not to scale. It's a large model, but it's not to scale. But to somewhat bring in the Balrog and actually have it to scale, that would be massively cool. Even if you it's going to be massive on the table, and even if it's going to be too big for you to actually even if it's going to be too big for you to actually have it to play with, because you're going to be too worried about it falling over or something, just as a display piece would be amazing too.
No, I think that people would. I think lots of people bought Smaug purely for display purposes. There was a part of me that thought, will I ever play with this miniature? No, but probably the hours that I put into making that, and the fact that it'll be on a shelf and I'll own it itself.
Exactly.
I think you would get the same kind of thing if you made a Balrog. And in terms of rules that you'd like to see, I think a lot of people say things like fly and magic as kind of normal ones. But I think looking at the way that some of the rules, or more recent profile rules, have been inventive with special rules in particular, which hasn't always been sort of the most prevalent part about SBG. It's not been about like everything having loads of special rules, but I think that we'd probably see more things along those lines, and maybe stuff like an unstoppable momentum or something along those. I don't think that would happen with the Balrog. I think that they would look at the movie and look at some of the lore and maybe go down that side. Maybe there would be more magic things going on. Maybe there would be other bits and pieces in there. I think movement is a big one though. Anything big only being able to move 6 is a killer. So Ents is a great example. Treebeard, all of these things, if they could move 8 inches, just that, don't change the point, just change that, and all of a sudden that makes them
much more viable,
but definitely not broken. So very, very cool question there, Galadrim. How many we do? Well, I don't know. We got quite a lot. We'll do our best, everybody.
Right.
Parker Richards.
Yeah, really informative video. Which video? The last one.
The last one, apparently.
Not
this one, clearly.
What do you think the strongest faction of Elves is? Ooh. High Elves, New Rivendell, New Mirkwood, Lothlorien, Old Wood Elves.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Again, as mentioned several times, depends on playing style and what you're in for, but New Rivendell is massively good. Rivendell Knights, ouch.
Yeah, Rivendell Knights are massively good.
Yep.
But of course suffer from the same issues that any kind of all cavalry army suffer from. And you need to ally things in, such as wizards, mounted wizards, to really kind of help them.
Old Wood Elves has been a fan favourite. It's been on many top tables. So maybe that's still the strongest faction.
I think so. I think that a combination of Lothlorien and Old Wood Elves is still very, very, very strong in the right hands. But again, it's not a novice army. Just not to big myself up, it's not only me that takes them. All right, to big myself up, Rivendell Knights, it's not an easy force to use. If you're playing it properly, particularly if you are playing it sort of in a Saruman way rather than a Gandalf blinding light way. But I would say that because since the sort of the new monster rules and the like have come in, then you've seen less and less kind of Wood Elf armies, particularly kind of higher points levels. But I still think that a Wood Elf Lothlorien is probably the most competitive Wood Elf army. Great heroes for cheap. The troops give you a lot for cheap. So you can actually end up with a lot of models that are able to do a great deal. And if you can protect against hurls and the like, then you're on to a winner. Bilbo Baggins is back from his walk. And then Rivendell Knights.
But if you had to pick a single list, just a single one, you can't combine Lothlorien and Old Wood Elves.
Oh, just a single. So
just a single.
Okay, so who? Well, in a matchup of who would win between all those armies, I would say Rivendell Knights, followed by Wood Elves and then Lothlorien. Maybe. Yeah. That's probably what I would say if you had to go for sort of pure in that sense. Yep. So thank you very much for that, Parker. Richard, next up we've got Mr. Snoblar. Good episode as always, guys. It's been a while since I've commented. Not very good at keeping in the loop, unfortunately. We're not very good at creating a loop these days. We have other priorities. My question this week is about gaming rooms. I'm currently in the process of sorting out my own house, and I'm planning on making one of the rooms into a gaming room.
Good man.
Nice. So far I'm planning to have an 8x4 table, for 2 games of Hobbit at once and a painting table in there. What do you think is a good idea to get for the room? And do you think stools or chairs would be better for the gaming table? Hope to see you this weekend at the GT. Well, I did, Mr. Snoblar. It was lovely to see you.
First off, massively awesome that you're looking into creating a gaming room. I wish I had room for a gaming room. That's awesome. 8x4 is definitely enough for 2 games of Hobbit at once. I think what you need to consider is, do you play other games as well? Or do you just solely play Hobbit? Because, I know other games that I play that use tables that are larger than, 4x4 as it were. So many tables use 6x4. Even some of the Hobbit games use.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's, you want to make sure that the room is suitable for everything that you play, if it is indeed a gaming room and not just a Hobbit room as it were. Also, if you have long games, you do want chairs. And you just want to make sure that it's nice and comfy in there. So make sure that you have, stuff displayed that looks awesome, whether it's models or posters or something, keeping the spirit of the gaming as it were.
I'm not sure, this is Gethin, I think, this is Gethin Watkins. Mr. Snoblar, I'm pretty sure it's my man Gethin who runs the Beacons at Chester event. And I'm pretty sure he just plays Hobbit. I'm pretty sure of that. So in that sense, just get your posters and things to create a real nice feel. You've got the right idea there. Comfort's going to be key, especially if you're playing relaxed games down there, if you're not filming a lot. I tend to stand up during my games, but it's quite important to have somewhere that you can kind of sit down, especially if you can have multiple people, maybe get some folding chairs so they're not out all the time, because chairs can take up quite a bit of room. And other things as well, consider, mine is down in the cellar, so to speak, so it's also sort of our utility room, and as such, I've got like heaters down there and things like that. So maybe stuff like that to consider that just increase the comfort. Maybe get yourself a little beer fridge in there, tea bags, kettles, those types of things. Save you the journey you just want to be able to camp out in your gaming room, don't you? So
speakers for music.
Absolutely.
All that stuff.
Get your Sonos mounted around the room. Awesomeness. And if you're filming, paint the wall green. There you go. So next up we've got Middle-earth SBG Ireland.
Hey!
He's put, alright lads, really enjoyed the 3-way format this week, keep it up. No, we didn't do that. Unless we get Bilbo or Jane or Eleanor involved in the video. Also, congrats to yourself, James. Thank you very much, matey. My question this week is, I'm looking to pick up a new army this year. I already have Rohan, Thranduil's Halls, Goblin Town, Mordor, Order Dwarf Faction, and Isengard. Wow. Is there any army you would recommend for something really different? What are your favourite armies to use and play against? Cheers, Stephen. So something really different from the armies that he's got there. It looks like he's got armies that are quite standard armies. It's like armies. So troops and a standard number of heroes.
Yep.
So maybe if you want to go for something completely different, maybe go like all monster army. Maybe go for eagles and Bayon and Radagast or
Wonders of the Wild could be wicked.
Yeah. Radagast Alliance.
Radagast Alliance is called today.
Something else that's different. Maybe you could go down the route of like a Moria monster spiders list and wilds or what. That'd be different and look quite cool.
I think you're on the right track there with trying to go monsters. I play whenever I play Moria, I always bring a lot of monsters, which is not the so to speak typical way of playing Moria. You always want to spam the goblins, but I always bring monsters. The Dweller, the Cave Drake. Have a few Warp Marauders in there, some Bat Swarm. So that's actually quite a different way of playing Moria, and it's great fun. Maybe monsters. It's a good shout.
Yeah, I think that would be quite a good way to go. Go for some beasties or some monster armies. That'd be a little bit different. Alternatively, I'm not sure what kind of Rohan army you've got, but going for an all-mounted army can be quite a different thing. You have to be a very sophisticated, handsome fella to do that kind of thing.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, go. Those are very different kind of armies to play. All hero as well.
All hero, yeah.
All hero takes a certain degree of. It does take a certain degree of skill. It's a completely different kind of game. Can be forgiving for a while, and then it can all crash down. Can all crumble. So another good way to look at it. Yep. Next up we've got Scott Hughes.
Scott Hughes, hey guys, thanks for answering my question last episode. You're welcome. Further to that question though, I'm a big fan of Hobbit era dwarves, and 400 points of them is what I'm looking for. In your opinions, what's the best dwarf hero list at that points cost?
Hero list?
Hero list. Oh, and for Battle of Barleyman's, my choice would be Thorin.
Thorin, Champions of Elven.
Oh right, of course, versus Asok, or Legolas with Orcris versus Bolg. Many thanks again.
I'm sure we'll get around to doing those at some point. I do have some Hunter Orcs which are being sent to me at the moment, hopefully. So I should be able to do definitely the Bolg matchup at some point.
That'd be fun.
So Dwarf all hero.
From the Hobbit era.
From the Hobbit era. 400 points. Well, Dice Company is always good fun. You're getting relatively cheap heroes that you can kind of clump together. Depends what kind of. What when you say Hobbit era dwarves, if you're doing all hero, then you've got to look at what things you need for an all hero. If this is what you're actually asking, by the way, because I'm not 100% clear, but you do say what the best dwarf hero list at that points cost. So 400 points. Who are the best heroes? So Dane on his pig is how many points?
Don't ask.
Is it 150?
Something like that.
I think it might be. Thorin on goat.
Yeah.
It's how many points?
Cheaper.
It is cheaper. Maybe
I'm not good with the points.
30-ish. And maybe that'd leave you enough points. I would say try and mount them, because in an all hero force that can make a massive difference when you've got your mounts. So I'd definitely start off with those two, and then maybe you'd look at Dwalin either on goat or on pony. Whether that would come to the right kind of points level, I'm not 100% sure in my mind, but that sounds about 400 points. You should be able to get 3 or 4 decent dwarves in, but you're looking at how resilient are they going to be in an all hero force. So
you want to make sure you have some sort of synergy between them, so that each of them cover certain aspects of the list. You don't want to basically have duplicates, as it were, in abilities.
3's in all the right places and high defence is a good starting point for an all hero list. And at 400 points, that's not as important. Someone like Dwalin at 400 points mounted is horrific. So good luck with that. Next up. It's the GBHL podcast asking us a question. Oh, it's Damien.
Alright.
GBHL Damien commenting as the GBHL podcast.
Trixie.
He's put, great episode, guys. You seem to really enjoy having 3 guys at the same time. Well, hey. I thought it worked really well. First time 3 hosts are presented together, perhaps? No, I don't think so. I think, have you done plants here with 3 people before? I'm sure Jamie's been on plants here with you.
Maybe he meant just speak from the question. Have you been 3 hosts on that?
Maybe not 3 hosts. Maybe. No, I'm sure you have at some point. Did we do one? And you and you and Tom here and stay over? Did we do that? I'm not too sure. But hey, if you guys want to see that again, then we'll work towards it. Of course, it just depends on availability, and these things aren't easy to organise. Don't know, maybe.
Yeah. What we were getting at as well.
Great episode anyway. Kept me sane very late on a Tuesday night when clearing out the last of the games room ready for the decorating to start tomorrow.
Aye.
So we were talking about games room before. GBHL Damien has the old games room has gone. He's got a new room, which looks very cool. As for a question, I can't believe it hasn't been asked yet. But at the same time of posting and with 24 comments, there's nothing about the GT. Well, the GT has been, so prediction time. Where do each of you hope to come, and who do you think will take the 3 podium places? Okay, well, so I'll answer this.
Yeah.
I hoped to come. I hoped to come top 10, and I would have been ecstatic at top 5, and that's what I was going for. I'm not going to lie, I took an army and have been practicing with an army to try and do that well, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out like that. I ended up losing 2 games, and I got absolutely battered by James Braun, who's a fantastic player in the last game, which kind of sent me hurtling back down. And I also lost to the German champion, Marcel. Had a great game versus him, played heirlooms, and he dug up the prize early, and the game ended on the first, I think on the first or second turn it was broken, while I was trying to get to the goblin holding the prize next to his shaman behind a building. It was always going to be a tough ask. So I hope to do better than I did, but I had a great time nonetheless, and it's great seeing everyone. That's always the most important thing. And you did very well. You did better than me, and you didn't take an optimised list, so well done. Who did I think would come in the top 3? I guess the usual suspects. I thought that you got to look at it and say, well, it's probably going to be a J. Clare and a Damien. Sorry, not Damien.
Ed Ball.
An Ed Ball, and then depending on who was competing after that. So Jamie Giblin always does pretty well when he tries and everything, and I guess the usual suspects like your Harry Moore and everything. But I mean, it was really it was a kind of big spread, a big kind of spread. So I think my predictions weren't far off, but I didn't do as well as I wanted. Finally, where do you think you're?
Where do you think Damien will
come? Damien will come. Well, the thing is with Damien is a not to chum up too much, but Damien's a very good player, very experienced player, and the likes of Tom and Damien are the kind of players that can take an army which isn't optimised and is trying to compete and still do very well, as long as their armies have got certain kind of key ingredients. And Tom's talked about that often. As long as he knows, where's my defence 6, where's my low defence troops, where's my hitting power, where are my heroes, he's got a rough idea about what his army needs to do at a particular thing. So, and I think Damien's exactly the same as that, and his kind of Battle of the 5 Armies themes and his Gundabad's, although they might not be optimised competitive lists in that sense, they're still strong, and he's a strong player, and he ended up doing very very well. I think he came in the top 15, which is really good. Yeah. 90 players, so well done. Whoever gets closest to my finishing position will win a chance to buy themselves a Fresno. Well, I think you might have been closest to Jamie. Jamie did very well. I think Jamie comes 7th. I think he did the best out of the hosts. So very good. Yeah. Huzzah, I look forward to catching up over a bevy or 2 at the weekend to war, Damien. Well, we did do that. We had lots of catching up, which was lovely. Next up, War!
Cracking content, fellas. 3 hosts. The loop is pleased, she purrs. So on to this week's declaration of love to our loop mistress. We are going to Nova.
Yeah, good stuff.
Nice. 4 West Coast Hobbits have bought tickets and plane fare to Nova and are very excited. Truth be told, it'll be the biggest SBG tournament any of us have attended, and for some just the biggest event we've attended.
Fantastic.
Nice. Seeing as the GBHL have annually gone over and just rinsed the opposition, what advice can you boys provide in terms of anything to look out for in the US meta?
The US meta changed because the first time that we went, the first time that we went, it was like these massive chaff armies that were really, really tough to kind of get through. But the thing with the initial rules pack, I see what's going to happen here. Squirty, squirty. No. No. Jane's now going to potter around and make slightly annoying noises while we finish the video. That's what's going to happen. So in terms of the meta, I mean, the only reason we kind of got away with things the first, because we took quite elite armies that are quite good at shutting down other elite armies, because that's our kind of meta over here. But the reason we got away with it the first time we went was because there wasn't a huge amount of experience of Magic, but also because the way that the tournament was scored, it wasn't about winning and losing games, it was just about getting a VP. So we were just focused on, right, well, let's just make sure we get the minimum 10 VPs. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. No. Which, you know, because we're quite experienced, we were able to kind of do that. Then that changed quite a lot the last time we went, because I guess because the influx of Canadian players, more different metas coming along, I think it was very kind of diverse. And if you look at, I mean, apart from ourselves who kind of came first, second and third, so Tom with his kind of Wood Elf Galadriel elite list, he's not going to be there this year. Right. Damien's not going to be there with his Ferucas. I'm not going to be there with my Rivendell Knights and Saruman. The next best ones were some of the Canadian guys, who I guess will still be going over. Adam Marcel took a sort of Eagle, Bayorn, Galadriel to Fortify Spirit, all of those kind of big heroes and monsters, so that they're not getting magicked out of the game. He was the next kind of highest, and then there was sort of a lot of kind of double fell beastie kind of things, which we see quite a lot. So those are the things to kind of look out for maybe in the US meta.
Second up, what is the latest we can drink till in the early hours of the morning and still play the games the next day? Well, I mean, depends. Like, I'm a Dane. I come from a country of drinking. I mean, I know several people who play best when hungover. So until late in the morning. Yeah. Oh, early in the morning as well.
Well, all you have to do is go and watch my Nova vlogs. Go watch my Nova vlogs, and then you will see what time that you can stay out and drink to and still do well. Because I've got a decent record of doing that, and not just from Nova vlogs, other events I've gone to.
Thirdly, how much spending money would you recommend?
I don't know. It depends. If you want to buy stuff, then you're gonna have to take a lot. I think always a good thing whenever you go on holiday anywhere is to kind of budget for, including food. If your hotel's already taken care of, so you've already got breakfast maybe included, you want at least £60 a day. I think what that is in dollars, I'm not sure at the moment, but I would say 60 to 100 pounds is per day.
Sounds pretty good.
Is a good guideline.
Yep. And anything outside the SBG hall at Nova do you suggest we get a peek at?
All of it. It's that is the best thing about Nova, by the way. This is not a kind of like a dig or anything like that. But the SBG tournament side of it is a relatively small part of everything else which is going on. And it's one of Devin has spoken about this openly. It's one of the reasons which is going to kind of hinder him going forwards with Nova, is that he can't expand the tournament because of all the other systems that are going on. So he's always going to be sort of capped at that 60, which is a shame. But he does a great job of it. But I would definitely recommend just going around and looking at everybody. Look at all the X-Wing stuff, look at all of the displays. There's lots of painting seminars and the like which go on. And I would actually also recommend getting outside of the hotel. Go to the malls, get outside the hotel, go do the historical things, go and look around, the stretch and
all the museums in that long stretch.
There's lots of cool museums. Have you been over to Washington?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so you've got all the museums, and you've got the White House, and you've got the Lincoln Memorial, and you've got the Capitol building, which is amazing to look around, by the way. So I would definitely recommend all of that kind of stuff outside of just playing SBG.
Yeah. And then the second question, Hunter Orcs. What are your thoughts on Hunter Orcs now that they get the tasty 50% bows and +1 shoot value? I really am tempted at running 700 points of them, but not using either Bulk or Assault, as in my mind they cost a lot of points and only takes one caster to shut them down, leaving my hurting as a chunk of my army becomes a pretty looking model. What do you think? Is that wise or not? Do you think just the 3 hunters, normal hunter orc caps, and then on hunter orcs, fell wargs with max bows could do a number and over? As always, many thanks for your weekly sacrifices of time to bring us top quality content.
It's very kind of you. Very kind of you. And speaking of top quality content, we are running low on storage, so we're gonna have to be rapid on this bit and probably race through the rest of the rest of the questions and then sign off. So let's go through this quickly.
So
Hunter orcs obviously more viable with 50% bows.
Yeah, naturally.
Obviously more viable. What kind of things are you going to come up against again is a key thing, and you know, are you going to be able to 50% bows? You've got to look at it and go, what are you actually going to be able to outshoot? You're going to be able to outshoot most other evil armies apart from maybe Haradrim. But the strength of the Hunter Orcs really comes through the two attack strengthful models. So it's handy to have. It will force your opponent to chase the game a little bit in some cases, but on the whole, no, it's not going to make a massive difference. So that's great, and we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 questions. So I'm actually going to split that off because this is now on 0. So unfortunately, if your question didn't get read, please make sure that you ask it next week, and make sure as always that you comment in the comment section below. So we're going to sign off. Don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe.
Support your GBHL hosts in the links below.
Get you! I did not expect you to do that. Make sure you like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter.
It's not support your hobby yet.
Yeah.
That's it. Support your hobby, guys.
And happy strategy battle gaming.